They tell you spiritual awakening is like watching the sun rise, a gentle golden light that finally illuminates the world. For me, it was not a sunrise. It was the shattering of every window in my house during a hurricane, leaving me standing in the wreckage, exposed to the raw, untamed, and terrifying beauty of the storm. My name is Elias, and before the storm, my house was immaculate. I was an architect, a man who built his life with the same precision he designed skyscrapers, a solid foundation of ambition, walls of achievement, and a roof of social approval. Life was a blueprint I was following flawlessly. I had the right career, the right friends, the right plans. Everything was certain, measured, and safe. But deep within the structure, a strange pressure was building. It began as a whisper, a faint sense of dissonance, the feeling that I was an actor who had forgotten he was on a stage. The applause felt hollow, the script felt foreign, and the spotlight, once warm, now felt like an interrogation lamp. Then, the first window cracked. It wasn't a single event, but a slow, creeping realization that the entire play was a fiction. This was the beginning of my awakening, and it was the beginning of the 7 pains. The first pain was the sharp, piercing sting of loneliness. It arrived when I began to see through the social games. I'd be at a dinner party, surrounded by the clinking of glasses and vibrant chatter, and suddenly I could see it all with excruciating clarity. The masks, the carefully constructed personas, the conversations designed not to connect but to signal status, the laughter that didn't reach the eyes. I saw the desperate performance of happiness, the frantic dance to avoid silence and vulnerability. I would try to say something real, to ask a question that mattered, and would be met with a polite, confused smile before the topic was quickly changed back to something safe, something scripted. I was in a room full of people, yet I had never felt more alone. It was the loneliness of the sober person at a drunken party, seeing the absurdity of it all while everyone else remained blissfully, willfully unaware. This wasn't a judgment of them. It was a profound ache for a connection that now seemed impossible, a silent scream into a void of pleasantries. This loneliness was a doorway to the second pain, the collapse of my own ego. If everyone else was playing a role, who was I? I looked in the mirror one morning and didn't see Elias, the successful architect. I saw a collection of borrowed ideas, conditioned responses, and a desperate need for approval. The identity I had spent 3 decades building was a house of cards, and a quiet wind was blowing through the room. I was not my job, I was not my accomplishments, I was not my reputation. So, what was I? The answer was a terrifying, gaping void. Emptiness. A profound disorientation swept over me. Without my labels, I was adrift in an infinite ocean, with no land in sight. For weeks, I felt like a ghost haunting my own life, going through the motions with no sense of self. The man who had designed unshakable structures now felt he had no foundation at all. It was a free fall into nothingness, the ultimate identity crisis from which there was no escape. From that empty space, the third pain arose, the agony of witnessing the suffering of others. With my own illusions crumbling, I began to see the source of the world's pain with unbearable clarity. I saw my friends trapped in careers they hated, chasing money they thought would buy them freedom, only to become more enslaved. I saw my family members nursing old wounds, replaying the same painful dramas, believing their own limiting stories. I saw the collective anxiety, the fear, the desperate search for meaning in things that could never provide it. My heart broke over and over again. I wanted to shake them, to scream, "You don't have to live like this. It's all a dream you can wake up from." But I learned quickly and harshly that you cannot wake someone who is determined to sleep. My words were either ignored, misunderstood, or met with anger. To them, I was the one who was lost. The pain of seeing the key in their hands while they insisted they were locked in a prison was a unique and profound form of helplessness. This helplessness forced me to turn my gaze inward, which led directly to the fourth pain, the crushing weight of responsibility. I realized I couldn't change anyone else, but I was 100% responsible for the energy I brought into the world. Every thought, every word, every action suddenly felt momentous. I saw how a single unconscious reactive comment could ripple outward, creating more tension and pain. I saw how my own unexamined fears were projected onto others, Living awake meant I could no longer afford the luxury of carelessness. It demanded constant presence, a vigilant awareness of my inner state. It was exhausting. There were no more vacations from myself. I had to choose love when I felt fear. I had to choose patience when I felt frustration. I had to choose truth when a lie would be easier. This wasn't a moral burden imposed from the outside, but an inescapable consequence of seeing clearly. The freedom of awakening came with the heavy sacred duty of conscious creation. As I took on this responsibility, the fifth pain emerged, the dissolution of my dreams. The goals that had once fueled my ambition now seemed hollow and transparent. The corner office, the prestigious design award, the bigger house, they were all based on the ego's desire to be special, to be better, to be seen. They were props for the character I was no longer playing. One by one, I had to let them go. There was a real grief in this. I was mourning a future I had meticulously planned, a version of success that society had celebrated. Letting go of those dreams felt like a kind of death. Without them, what was I striving for? The world measures a life by its external achievements, and I was voluntarily walking away from the race. It was a quiet, internal surrender, a painful pruning of everything I thought I wanted, leaving me with a stark, simple, and somewhat frightening question. What truly matters? The answer to that question was obliterated by the sixth pain, the collapse of my certainties. As an architect, I dealt in absolutes, in physics, in rules that governed reality. In my personal life, I had strong opinions, a clear-cut philosophy, a tidy box for every belief. But the more I looked, the more the boxes dissolved. I realized that what I called knowledge was just a collection of concepts, a fragile net I had thrown over an ocean of infinite mystery. Reality was not simple. It was paradoxical, fluid, and far more intelligent than my mind could ever grasp. Every answer only led to 1,000 more questions. The solid ground of my beliefs turned to quicksand. For a man who had built his life on knowing, the phrase "I don't know" became both a terrifying mantra and a liberating prayer. It was the pain of intellectual humility, the surrender of the need to be right, and the acceptance of a universe that would forever remain wonderfully, wildly unknowable. Finally, the seventh and most profound pain dawned on me, the realization of my own complicity in suffering. I had always seen myself as a good person, separate from the darkness in the world. But now I saw the truth. I saw the seed of greed in my own desires, the seed of violence in my own anger, the seed of ignorance in my own judgments. I saw that the wars, the injustice, the destruction out there were just a large-scale reflection of the unresolved conflicts within my own heart. I was not a victim of the world. I was the world. The line between self and other, between inner and outer, completely dissolved. This was the ultimate pain, not a guilt that blamed, but a responsibility that empowered. I understood that trying to fix the world without first healing myself was like a sick doctor trying to cure his patients. The work had to begin inside. The only way to mend the world was to mend my own fractured heart. For a long time, these 7 pains were my entire reality. They were a relentless fire, burning away everything I thought I was. But slowly, miraculously, my relationship with them began to change. The fire was not destroying me, it was purifying me. The pains were not punishments, they were teachers. The loneliness taught me the beauty of solitude and how to find a home within myself. The emptiness taught me that I was not a thing to be defined, but a space for life to happen. The helplessness taught me true compassion and the wisdom of letting others walk their own path. The responsibility taught me integrity and the power of conscious choice. The loss of my dreams taught me to find joy in the present moment, not in a future destination. The collapse of my certainties taught me humility and the wonder of living with an open mind. And the pain of my own complicity taught me that the most profound act of service is the relentless, courageous work of healing one's own heart. These pains have not disappeared. They are now my companions, the currents in the river of my life, but they have become sweet. It is the sweet ache of a muscle that has been worked, growing stronger. It is the bittersweet grief of a heart that has been broken open, now capable of holding so much more love. It is the price of living fully, authentically, and in direct contact with the raw, unfiltered truth of existence. The storm did not end. I simply learned how to dance in the rain. I am no longer the architect of a perfect, sterile house. I am the wild, open field, and the hurricane and the sunshine are both welcome here. For in embracing the pains of awakening, I discovered a dimension of life that lies beyond pain and pleasure, beyond happiness and sorrow. It is a state of deep, unshakable peace, the peace of finally, truly being home.